Don't waste your time. Have you ever asked yourself why your life still hasn't changed? Why you still aren't successful? Why you still haven't reached the things you've been dreaming about for years? It's not because you're not smart. It's not because you don't have opportunities. It's because you are wasting your own time. Every day, every hour, every minute. You spend hours scrolling through Facebook, TikTok, watching things that do nothing for your future. And at the end of the day, you look back and ask, what did I accomplish today? The truth is, almost nothing. You say you don't have time, but every day you throw away hours on meaningless distractions. You say you have no motivation, but how can you when you never start? You say you can't focus, but you've trained your brain to be addicted to instant pleasure, addicted to the easy way, addicted to avoiding the things that truly matter. And while you are wasting your time, your parents are getting older, slower, weaker, little by little. They're waiting for you to succeed, waiting for you to grow, waiting for you to become the person you promised you would be. But their time is not as long as you think. They cannot wait forever. And if you keep living like this, with no goals, no discipline, no change, years from now you will look back and realize you have lost your youth, your chances, your entire future, all because of meaningless hours spent scrolling through a screen. The most painful part is that you know this. You know you're hurting your own life, and yet you still don't stop. That is the real pain. And if you don't wake up right now, this very moment, you will continue living a life you aren't proud of. This is not just a reminder. This is a warning. This is an alarm. Your time is slipping away. Your life is slipping away. Don't waste another second. Lesson 1. Time is life. Most people think time is something abstract, a clock ticking, a day passing, a year added to their age. But the harsh truth is this: time is your life. Every minute that passes is not just time disappearing. It is a piece of you that is gone forever. Time doesn't return, can't be bought, can't be saved for later. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose things and replace them. But if you lose a year, a month, even an hour, it will never come back. That's why successful people have one thing in common. They respect time more than any other asset. Look at Bill Gates. Despite having billions of dollars, he still uses strict time blocking, scheduling every minute of his day for meaningful work. Because he knows 1 hour of his life is worth more than any amount of money. Meanwhile, those who fail share another trait. They treat time like it's infinite. They spend it as if they will live forever. They wake up without a plan. They waste 3 hours on their phone and still say, "I don't have time to learn." They repeat yesterday's mistakes and wonder why their life never changes. The truth is simple. Your current life is the result of how you used your time in the past, and your future will depend entirely on how you use your time starting today. Many people realize this too late. Steve Jobs, before he died, said a sentence that made the whole world stop. Your time is limited. Don't waste it living someone else's life. Only when facing death did he feel clearly that each second passing is a piece of life that will never return. Don't wait until a tragedy forces you to open your eyes. Don't wait until you see your parents growing older to realize how poorly you've used your time. Don't wait until failure hits you to suddenly wish you had started earlier. Most people make the same fatal mistake. They think, I'll do it later. I'll start next week. Just one more video. And each later, each not now, each tomorrow quietly steals months and years of their life. The solution is simple but life-changing. Master your time, or your time will master you. Use the 10-minute rule. If you don't feel like doing something, just do it for 10 minutes. Your brain will naturally want to continue. Cut 50% of your wasted time immediately. Reducing social media from 3 hours to 1 hour gives you 2 extra hours of life every single day. Ask yourself one question every night. Was today worth 24 hours of my life? And always remember, you don't control how long you live, but you control how you use every minute you have. If you want to change your life, start by changing the way you see time. Because in the end, your life is simply the sum of how you spend your time, and nothing shapes your future more than the way you choose to use the minutes you are given. Lesson 2. Use your time wisely. Use your time wisely means treating every minute as an investment with potential return. It's the difference between living reactively, drifting from distraction to distraction, and living intentionally, where each block of time is chosen because it moves you toward a goal. Too many people confuse being busy with being productive. Scrolling through feeds, answering shallow notifications, hopping between tasks without a plan feels like action but rarely creates value. The analysis is simple. Time is finite and non-renewable, so poor allocation yields compounded opportunity loss. If you spend 3 hours a day on low-value activities, that's 1,095 hours a year. Time you could have used to learn a skill, build a side project, strengthen relationships, or rest effectively. Successful people treat time like capital. They prioritize high-impact activities and protect those windows fiercely. For instance, many leaders use time blocking, reserving chunks of the day for focused work, meetings, learning, and deep rest. So context switching is minimized and mental energy conserved. Others follow strict prioritization, determining the 20% of actions that create 80% of results and then ruthlessly executing on them. Conversely, common mistakes include failing to plan, overcommitting, underestimating task duration, and saying yes too often. These behaviors create a calendar full of friction, meetings that bleed into productive time, fragmented attention, and a creeping backlog of important work. The psychological cost is real. Constant shallow busyness erodes confidence and creates the illusion of achievement without substance. So what are practical solutions you can implement today? First, start with an audit. Track where your time really goes for 7 days. Use a simple spreadsheet or a time tracking app and be brutally honest. That visibility alone will reveal small leaks you can fix. Second, adopt time blocking. Assign each hour of your day a purpose. Focus work, learning, admin, family, exercise, and honor those blocks as non-negotiable. Third, prioritize with the decision rule. Each morning, pick 1 to 3 MITs, most important tasks, that you will finish before anything else. These are the tasks that move you forward. Fourth, use the Pomodoro technique or 90-minute deep work sessions to protect concentration and include short breaks to recharge. Fifth, learn to say no and batch similar tasks to reduce switching costs. Email, messages, and social feeds should have scheduled check times, not constant access. Sixth, automate and delegate. Whatever can be outsourced or simplified should be, because your time is best spent where it produces the highest return. Finally, build rituals that prime focus, morning routines, pre-work rituals, and environment design. Phone in another room, notifications off, reduce friction and increase the chance you'll do meaningful work. Think of the people who built something lasting. They didn't wait for motivation. They designed systems to use their time wisely. Equally, think of those who looked back with regret. Often they didn't lack talent. They lacked habit and structure. Time invested wisely compounds. Small daily choices, protecting 2 hours of deep work, saying no to 1 meeting, swapping an hour of scrolling for reading, stack into momentum. If you want different results, start treating each minute as a deliberate choice. Lesson 3. You always have time. The belief that I don't have time is one of the most destructive lies people tell themselves, because it removes responsibility and makes inaction feel justified. The truth is painful but liberating. You always have time for the things you prioritize. When people say they have no time, what they really mean is that their time is being consumed by low-value habits, distractions, and decisions made without intention. Everyone, from billionaires to busy parents working 2 jobs, has the same 24 hours. The difference lies in how they choose to allocate them. Consider Elon Musk when he was building SpaceX and Tesla at the same time. He used 5-minute scheduling blocks, proving that even in overwhelming chaos, time can be carved out when priorities are clear. Or take J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter while raising a child alone and working multiple jobs. She didn't have extra time. She created time by removing everything non-essential. On the other hand, look at the millions who say they want to learn a language, start a business, get fit, or improve themselves, but never begin. Their days vanish into scrolling, mindless entertainment, and constant distraction. They insist they're too busy, yet spend hours doing things that don't matter. The real issue isn't lack of time, it's lack of clarity and discipline. When the mind is scattered, time becomes fragmented. Even a free hour can feel unusable because attention is weak and habits are misaligned. But when you take ownership of your choices, I don't have time transforms into, I haven't made this a priority yet. And that shift is powerful. The problem is systemic. People underestimate how much time they waste on autopilot, opening social apps without thinking, repeating routines that bring no value, overcommitting to tasks that don't matter. They also overestimate how much time meaningful improvement requires. They think learning needs hours, when 10 minutes a day compounds massively over weeks and months. To reclaim your time, start with radical awareness. Track your day for 48 hours. You'll see how many minutes you leak to unconscious behaviors. Then apply the substitution rule. Replace the first 10 minutes of scrolling with reading or learning. Over time, increase it to 20, then 30. Small shifts reshape entire days. Another key solution is implementing micro windows, tiny pockets of time that most people waste, like waiting in line, commuting, or sitting between tasks. These can be used for vocabulary practice, listening to meaningful content, or reviewing notes. This is how busy professionals become multilingual and how parents with full schedules still grow every day. Next, remove the illusion of multitasking. When your brain switches tasks constantly, it creates time loss that feels invisible but adds up to hours. Focus on one task, finish it, move on. Simplify your environment too. Notifications off, distracting apps on the second page of your phone, workspace clean. The fewer temptations you see, the more time you naturally reclaim. Finally, build a non-negotiable learning minimum. Even on your worst days, you commit to 5 or 10 minutes. That tiny promise is what separates growth from stagnation. Because once you show up consistently, time expands for you. The truth is simple. You don't need more hours. You need better priorities. And once you understand that you always have time, you stop waiting for the perfect moment and start using the moments you already have. Lesson 4. Stop waiting. The habit of waiting is one of the most silent killers of potential. People tell themselves they're waiting for the right time, the perfect moment, or the ideal conditions. But the truth is simpler and more painful. They're waiting because they're scared. Fear of failure, of judgment, of imperfection is the invisible chain that holds millions of people in place while their dreams slowly die in front of them. Waiting feels safe, but it is the most dangerous decision of all, because time keeps moving even when you don't. Think of those who say, "I'll start when I have more time. I'll begin when I feel ready." Or, "I'll try when everything is perfect." These are not reasons. They are excuses wrapped in fear. No one ever feels completely ready. No moment is ever perfect. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to begin. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from action. Look at people who change the world. Steve Jobs didn't wait for permission to start Apple. He built it in a garage with limited resources and countless uncertainties. Oprah didn't wait for someone to validate her worth. She pushed through poverty, rejection, and prejudice. They moved forward despite fear, not because fear was absent. Conversely, think of the countless dreamers, people with talent, intelligence, passion, who kept saying tomorrow. Tomorrow became next week, next month, next year, and eventually became never. Regret is full of people who waited too long. The analysis is clear. Waiting feels harmless but compounds into irreversible loss. Every day you hesitate, your skills rust, your dreams fade, your motivation weakens, and your self-belief erodes. Your brain learns inaction, and over time, not doing becomes your identity. You stop trying not because you can't, but because you've trained yourself to avoid effort. The good news is waiting is a habit you can break. The first solution is to shift your mindset from perfection to progress. Don't aim for the perfect start, aim for a start. One sentence, one exercise, 1 minute. These tiny beginnings override fear. Use the 72-hour rule. If you have an idea or a goal, take action within 72 hours before motivation dies. Another tool is exposure therapy to fear. If speaking English scares you, speak one sentence today. If starting a business frightens you, write the first idea. If improving your health feels overwhelming, walk for 5 minutes. When your brain sees that fear didn't kill you, it loosens its grip. Surround yourself with people who act, not talk. Environment is contagious. If your friends are procrastinators, their habits become your ceiling. Replace waiting with accountability. Tell someone your goal and your deadline. The pressure helps break inertia. Most importantly, redefine fear. Fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal that something matters. If it scares you, it's likely exactly what you need to do. The truth is brutal but empowering. Your life is decided by the moments you stop waiting and start moving. So don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for clarity. Don't wait for confidence. Action creates all of them. The clock is ticking, with or without you. Stop waiting. Your future is waiting for you. Lesson 5. Take the first step. The first step is always the hardest. Not because the action itself is difficult, but because it requires breaking through fear, doubt, and inertia. Many people live stuck at the starting line, not because they lack ability, but because they convince themselves they need motivation, clarity, or confidence before they begin. But this belief is a trap. You don't start because you're motivated. You become motivated because you start. The brain is designed to resist new habits and protect comfort. So the moment you think about changing your life, learning English, starting a business, fixing your health, it immediately throws excuses at you. Not now. I'm tired. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know where to begin. This is why the first step matters more than any other. It breaks the psychological wall your mind builds to keep you comfortable and small. Think about people who achieved extraordinary things. When Colonel Sanders built KFC, he was 65, broke, and rejected more than 1,000 times. His first step wasn't powerful. He simply knocked on a door and offered his recipe. But that single action started a global brand. Or consider Malala Yousafzai, who took her first step toward global education reform by writing a small anonymous blog at age 11. It wasn't grand, but it was enough to spark a movement. Every major transformation begins with something small, almost invisible. The tragedy is that most people wait for the perfect moment, but perfection is an illusion. There is no perfect plan, no perfect day, no perfect version of yourself waiting in the future. Life rewards those who begin, not those who hesitate. And the more you delay, the heavier the first step becomes. When you don't start, fear grows. When you don't start, doubt multiplies. When you don't start, your dream slowly dies from neglect. Taking the first step doesn't require brilliance. It requires willingness. And once you move, momentum begins to work for you instead of against you. The science behind this is clear. When you start a task, your brain releases dopamine, reinforcing the behavior and making you want to continue. This is why a 2-minute start can lead to a 2-hour deep work session. The solution is simple yet powerful. Use the 2-minute rule. If a task feels overwhelming, do it for just 2 minutes. Speak 1 sentence in English. Read 1 paragraph. Write 1 idea. The goal is not completion. The goal is activation. Next, break big goals into micro steps. Instead of learn English, make it listen for 3 minutes. Instead of get fit, make it walk to the end of the street. Micro steps remove the fear barrier. Another solution is to make your first step obvious and unavoidable. Keep your book on your pillow, your workout clothes beside your bed, your English notes on your desk. Design your environment so action becomes the default. And most importantly, reward yourself for simply starting. Not for perfection, not for finishing, but for showing up. Because once you begin, you're already ahead of those still waiting, still planning, still afraid. The truth is simple. The first step doesn't need to be big, only real. Once you take it, everything else becomes possible. Lesson 6. Small wins matter. People often believe that success comes from huge breakthroughs, massive decisions, or life-changing moments. They imagine a dramatic transformation, the day everything suddenly becomes different. But real life doesn't work that way. Success is not built from big victories. It is built from small wins repeated consistently. Small wins look insignificant on the surface. Learning 1 new word, reading 1 page, walking for 5 minutes, saving a small amount of money, waking up 10 minutes earlier. These moments are so small that most people ignore them. But what they don't understand is that small wins compound, stacking up day after day until the results become unstoppable. This is how habits form, how confidence grows, and how entire lives transform. Consider James Clear, author of Atomic Habits. His entire philosophy revolves around the idea that improving 1% each day leads to massive change over time. A tiny improvement compounded daily equals a completely different person within a year. Or take the story of Kobe Bryant. When asked why he was so great, he didn't talk about talent. He talked about doing the basics every single day. Shooting the same simple drills. Practicing footwork thousands of times. Each tiny improvement made his foundation unbreakable. Small wins are the seed of big victories. The opposite is also true. Small losses build failure. 5 minutes of procrastination becomes 10, then 20, then 2 hours. 1 skipped day becomes a week, then a month. Just like success, failure is a slow accumulation of small, repeated actions. Why do small wins matter so much? Because they shape your identity. Each time you complete a small action, your brain receives evidence that you are improving. You start seeing yourself as someone who learns, someone who grows, someone who tries. This identity shift is what creates long-term change. The problem is that most people reject small wins because they don't feel dramatic enough. They want overnight transformation, not daily discipline. They want results without repetition. They want the final chapter without writing the first sentence. But waiting for motivation or a perfect moment.
When this region lights up, your mind becomes sharp and directed. Understanding this reminds you that focus is not luck. It's a biological ability you can strengthen, just like a muscle, with deliberate practice in the right conditions. The prefrontal cortex requires enormous energy. When you're tired, stressed, or hungry, this area goes offline, making attention scattered. Don't blame yourself for being unfocused. Your brain is simply low on fuel. Proper sleep, hydration, and balanced meals are not productivity hacks. They're biological necessities for mental clarity. Your amygdala reacts to threats within milliseconds. When you feel anxious, overwhelmed, or distracted, the amygdala steals resources from the prefrontal cortex. That's why emotional overload destroys focus. Regulating your emotions is not optional. It's the foundation of stable, sustained attention. Focus is a constant negotiation between your logical brain and your emotional brain. When emotions surge, logic softens. You regain control by training awareness, breathing slowly, grounding your senses, and naming what you feel. Calmness strengthens the pathways between the prefrontal cortex and limbic system, making attention smoother and more resilient. Dopamine drives motivation. Social media, notifications, and instant rewards flood your brain with quick dopamine hits, rewiring your attention toward constant novelty. Sustained focus requires rebalancing, reducing fast dopamine, and learning to enjoy slow, deep attention. It's not discipline alone. It's neurochemistry. When you focus deeply, your brain shifts into stable beta waves, sometimes flowing into alpha, a calm yet alert state. These brainwave patterns help you ignore distractions and stay immersed. Focus is not force, it's alignment. When your brain is calm and energized, attention comes naturally. The hippocampus forms long-term memories. When you focus well, it receives clean, organized information. When you multitask or get distracted, the hippocampus stores fragmented impressions. Memory is not weak. You're simply not giving your brain the concentrated input it needs to build strong neural patterns. Your working memory can hold around 7 pieces of information at once. That's why multitasking never works. The brain jumps rapidly, losing stability and accuracy. Deep focus gives your working memory the space to process information effectively, forming clearer understanding and smarter decisions. The autonomic nervous system has 2 sides: the sympathetic, stress, tension, and the parasympathetic, calm, clarity. Chronic stress keeps you stuck in the sympathetic state, weakening focus. Simple breaths, slow, deep, rhythmic, activate the parasympathetic system, restoring awareness and mental balance. The default mode network activates when your mind wanders, thinking about the past, future, or random worries. This network is powerful but distracts you from the present. Writing down thoughts, setting intentions, and creating structured routines help turn off this wandering mode and re-engage focused attention. The brain loves patterns. When you work at the same time each day, neural circuits become more efficient at switching into focus mode. Consistency trains your prefrontal cortex to recognize this is time to concentrate, making deep work feel more natural and less effortful over time. Your brain is constantly predicting what matters. If your environment is cluttered with noise, movement, or visual chaos, The brain wastes energy scanning for meaning. A clean space is not just aesthetic, it frees cognitive resources, allowing the prefrontal cortex to anchor attention on what truly matters. Hydration directly affects neural firing. Even mild dehydration reduces blood flow to the brain, making attention foggy and slow. Drinking enough water is one of the simplest yet most overlooked tools for improving focus. Your brain is 70% water. Nourish it. The brain rewards completed tasks with dopamine. Finishing small steps builds momentum, encouraging deeper focus. Break your work into manageable pieces not because it's easier, but because it biologically aligns with how your motivational system functions. Cortisol, the stress hormone, narrows your attention to threats. While useful in danger, it sabotages concentration in everyday tasks. Learning to manage stress through mindfulness, exercise, or breathing creates the hormonal environment your brain needs for long, steady, focus or enforcement. The reticular activating system, RAS, filters what your brain notices. When you set a clear intention, the RAS prioritizes relevant information and blocks distractions. Start any task by saying, "My focus now is." It signals the brain to tune out the noise. Your emotional state shapes your attention. Joy expands focus, while fear shrinks it. Cultivating gratitude or positive anticipation before working shifts your brain chemistry, making concentration easier and more enjoyable, not forced. Attention is limited. When you waste it early on social media or chaotic multitasking, you burn mental energy needed for meaningful work. Protect your first hours. They are biologically the sharpest. Give them to what truly matters. Your brain builds habits through repetition. When you repeatedly choose focus over distraction, neural pathways grow stronger. Eventually, deep concentration becomes your default mode, not because you're disciplined, but because your brain adapts to what you repeatedly do. Sleep cleans the brain. During deep sleep, glial cells remove metabolic waste and strengthen neural connections. Without this nightly reset, attention becomes unstable. Good sleep is not luxury. It is the biological foundation for every cognitive function you rely on. The prefrontal cortex matures last in human development, which is why disciplined focus improves with age and practice. You are not bad at concentrating. You are still training the most sophisticated part of your brain. Improvement is always possible. Your brain experiences attention residue when switching between tasks. Thoughts from the previous task linger, weakening your ability to fully engage in the next one. Give yourself a short pause, a deep breath, or a reset ritual. Clear the mind before shifting. Music without lyrics can increase focus by soothing the limbic system and enhancing alpha waves. But complex or emotional music can distract. Choose soundscapes intentionally. They're tools that alter your brain's rhythm, not background noise. Movement boosts blood flow and oxygen to the brain. A short walk can restore clarity faster than forcing yourself to sit still. The brain thrives when the body moves. Your physiology is not separate from your focus. Self-talk shapes attention. When you say, "I can't focus," the brain reinforces that belief. Replace it with, "I'm returning to focus," a gentle, non-judgmental cue. The subconscious responds to repeated language, gradually reshaping your internal narrative. Your senses influence concentration. Strong smells, bright lights, or uncomfortable temperatures steal cognitive bandwidth. Create a sensory environment that supports, not sabotages, your attention. Focus grows where the body feels safe. The brain learns through reward. Celebrate progress, Even small wins to activate dopamine loops that make focus easier next time. When the brain associates concentration with positive feelings, attention becomes a natural desire, not a forced behavior. Shallow attention drains mental energy because the brain constantly shifts gears. Deep attention, however, is metabolically efficient. It reduces noise and strengthens neural pathways. The more you practice deep work, the more energy you conserve. Emotional clutter is just as distracting as physical clutter. Unresolved worries hijack the amygdala, pulling your focus inward. Writing them down reduces emotional load, giving your prefrontal cortex the space it needs to think clearly. Your subconscious absorbs patterns from your routines. When you begin your day with chaos, the mind stays chaotic. When you begin with intention, the mind follows. Morning habits program the brain for the type of attention you will use all day. Nutrition affects neurotransmitters. Foods rich in omega-3, B vitamins, and antioxidants support healthy neural communication. A nourished brain sustains focus longer, while processed sugar creates spikes and crashes that destroy concentration. Your beliefs shape your level of focus. When you believe a task is meaningful, the prefrontal cortex engages more strongly. Meaning is fuel. Connect your work to a purpose, and your brain will naturally commit deeper attention. Silence is powerful. Moments without stimulation give the brain room to synchronize, repair, and recenter. In a noisy world, silence becomes a cognitive reset button that restores your ability to focus. Visualizing yourself focusing activates the same neural circuits as actual concentration. Mental rehearsal strengthens your attentional networks, making real-world performance more stable and confident. The mind trains even when the body is still. Distraction is addictive because it relieves discomfort. When a task becomes challenging, the brain seeks easy pleasure. Recognize this impulse without judgment. The moment you acknowledge it, you regain control over it. Your goals must be clear. Ambiguous tasks confuse the brain, splitting attention. Specific objectives help the prefrontal cortex lock in and stay engaged. Clarity is not luxury, it's neurological guidance. Your environment influences your identity. When you work in a place associated with distraction, your brain enters that pattern automatically. Build a focus zone, even a small one, to create a mental anchor for deep work. The brain follows cycles of alertness, work in 90-minute rhythms, then rest. This aligns with your ultradian cycles, supporting better energy, clarity, and cognitive endurance. Curiosity amplifies focus. When you care about something, dopamine rises naturally, helping your brain sustain effort. Ask questions, explore deeper layers, and let fascination guide your attention. Your breathing is the steering wheel of your mind. Slow exhales activate the parasympathetic system, calming the amygdala. A calm brain focuses, a stressed brain survives. Learn to breathe with intention. Notice your triggers. What pulls your attention away? Awareness creates choice. When you're conscious of your patterns, your brain begins forming new ones, replacing distraction loops with focus loops. Your subconscious constantly scans for unfinished tasks. Create a parking list to store ideas, reminders, and worries. This frees cognitive space for deep focus and reduces anxiety. Learning improves attention. When you engage your brain in new knowledge, neural networks grow stronger and more flexible. A stimulated mind focuses more easily than a stagnant one. Working in alignment with your natural chronotype, sure you're a morning person or night owl, boosts focus significantly. Honor your biology. Productivity grows when you stop forcing yourself into patterns that fight your natural rhythm. Your body posture affects brain function. Sitting upright increases oxygen flow and alertness. When your body collapses, your energy and attention collapse with it. Move with intention, breathe with purpose. Decision fatigue drains focus. Simplify your choices. Prep your workspace. Plan your priorities. Limit options. Each small decision saved is attention gained for what really matters. Focus grows from acceptance, not resistance. When you stop fighting distractions and gently guide your mind back, you build stronger neural pathways for sustained attention. Kindness toward yourself is a cognitive strategy. The brain loves beginnings. Start with a small, easy action to generate momentum. Once the first step is taken, the prefrontal cortex takes control, pulling you deeper into focus. Reflection strengthens learning. At the end of each day, review what you focused on, what distracted you, and what improved. This reinforces neural circuits of awareness and intentionality. Your ability to focus is not fixed, it's trainable. With practice, your prefrontal cortex grows stronger, your emotional brain becomes calmer, and your habits align with clarity. Focus is a lifelong skill, a partnership between your biology and your choices. Treat it with respect, and it will transform your life. Thank you for watching this video. We would be very grateful if you subscribe to the channel and give a like to the video. Thanks to that support, we are motivated to continue producing more useful videos. Goodbye and see you again in the next videos. Bye-bye.